stress.
No. Welcome, everyone. I am Sarah Seidelmann. I am doing this series called the Hummingbird series, and I'm introducing you to some
Okay.
special, amazing people that I think you would benefit from knowing. And I want you to meet Martha Atkins, if you would say hello, Martha.
Hello.
Martha is in Texas, and she has written this amazing book called Signposts of Dying. And this book I have mailed to many people and gifted to many people because it simply is a very thin and brief primer on how to be a presence that can be a helpful presence when people are in the process of dying. And it really talks about a lot of difficult things that can be very confusing, and just kind of talks about them in a really simple, beautiful way. And it's a marvelous book. And Martha, who's a Martha Beck coach, and I met her years ago, and she, just being in a room with her, she transformed my life, literally being within a 12-foot radius. So Martha, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about, we're all in a process of dying, right?
We are.
So let's say I have somebody who's just gotten that phone call, so-and-so has entered hospice, maybe they've known somebody's been sick for a while, and they're thinking, okay, my gosh, I'm going to hospice now, or I'm going to their home to visit them. I know they're days, weeks, months from dying, and this is an active process of dying. What wisdom would you share with that person? Like, what's the cliff notes, the 411? What would you share with them?
So the first thing is take a breath. Just take a breath, because we get all of our emotions wrapped up in this thing that's happening, and all of our old history about what we think death and dying is, and it all comes flooding in, and we get all wigged out. So the first thing is just take a breath. The second thing is, remember that, yes, this person is dying. They're a person first. They're still the person you knew. They're still the person that you loved and love. And the connection in love versus fear will go a long way. So how do you want to be treated when you're sick? We remember, hopefully you had somebody who took good care of you when you were sick and put the blankets up and wiped your brow and brought you Gatorade. It's that kind of really tender, sensitive energy going in. I talk with my staff about tucking feathers in, and they laugh at me, but when you think about our energy, it is big and it expands out all around us. And if you walk into a room where somebody is not feeling great and you go in with that big energy, they feel that. So if you can imagine yourself just like your wings are spread out, energetic wings are spread out, and just bring them down to your side and take a breath and walk in the room and be yourself and let them be themselves, and be in that moment instead of predicting or imagining or worrying about what is. Just go and be in the moment, see what happens.
Love that. And just as you were saying that, I'm thinking, right when we get on this call, my wings are like Lord knows they're 20 feet on every side, partially because I'm super excited to talk to you, and partially like there's something about getting on a Zoom video that makes me that way. So as you started talking about that, I started to kind of, down a little bit. And I love that idea of like how, imagine what did that feel like to even step into a sense memory of the sweetest. I mean, for me, that was like SpaghettiOs and meatballs coming in a warm bowl, and the black and white television set being plugged in next to my bed, which like,
that's a big deal. Right.
Right. Yeah, just that extra step to ask me, what did I want? What would feel better for me?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Talk about that approach of like love versus fear, because, you talk about, it's much better to approach, and that's easy to say, but is there a way, or is there some, how do people connect with that? I love the breath, but is there some other way to connect with love versus fear, especially in these situations where maybe a lot of fears come up, especially around like, maybe I haven't done as much for this person that I wish I would have.
Yeah.
Regrets, I don't know, things come up.
Regrets are big. Fear is big. I think. So here's another thing I tell my staff: if you can go to a place that is loving for you. So we've already gone back to this felt sense memory of what it's like to be cared for when you're sick. So another one is, we learned this in the Martha Beck training, is about going to that place that feels really good. Whether it's standing on a beach holding hands with somebody, or snuggling up next to somebody, or holding your grandchild for the first time, playing football in the yard with your brother, who knows what that is, whatever it is for you. It's getting into that place, because if you're in that place, it's really difficult to be in the fear place. And just go and sink into that memory, think it, feel it, see it, know it, and then step into this next place that you need to be in. And it shifts the process, it shifts the energy. So you're in that space of love versus in that space of fear, and it vacillates. Sure. There are times when I go into a room or go in to meet with a family, and I don't know what's going to happen. I have trepidation. I do this all the time, and still every situation is different, and personalities are different, and energy is different, and the not knowing can be frightful. And so the other piece of this is just to be present. Sometimes the presence is with your own fear, and that's okay. Just go be with it. We're so worried about our emotions. We want to tame them down, and we want to be one particular way. And the fullness of being human is having all of the emotions, and we can feel them and move at the same time and do things at the same time. And it's okay to say to somebody, I don't know what to say to you. This has blown me away. I didn't expect this diagnosis to come. I didn't expect this. I'm sorry this is happening to you. This makes me sad, whatever it is. And just put it there. See what happens.
Yeah, I think there's this thought like there's a right or perfect or proper thing to say that's going to I know. I remember a few years ago, I got a phone call or a text message, and then a phone call that a dear friend of ours' husband had committed suicide. I didn't remember. It was like early in the morning, and I was like, I'm going over there right now and thinking, what am I going to say? Like, what am I going to, it was just sheer panic. And here's me, highly trained life coach, I've gotten a lot of training and a lot of skills. And I remember just getting this kind of like something came to me, which was just like, all you have to do is listen, and it was true. Really all, we were there to do was just be and, hold space and listen and
stand witness.
Yep. Bear witness.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's so many people who can't do that. And when it's done well, and it's done with authenticity and love, oh my gosh, you can feel it. You can feel it in the room. It's amazing. And it's amazing for the receiver and the people who are holding space at the same time. I got an email day before yesterday. A woman's grandmother was dying on a hospital ward in England. And she emailed me at 6:00 in the morning, and the day went by, and I finally emailed her late in the day, and she wanted to know what to do, what to say, that kind of stuff. So I sent her stuff back, and I got an email back, just right back, that says she just died. And it turns out I knew what to do. And I thought, oh, of course you did. Of course you did. That thing, we want to have this extra information and want to be shored up. And when it comes down to it, it really is, it's being there. It's being there, being present, being there in love. Those things we just talked about. Yeah.
And I think a lot of that not knowing or that not trusting comes from the way our culture has really separated us from the process of death, which used to be something that happened at home. That used to be something that by the time you were an adult, you would witness many people dying in a variety of circumstances, and the discomfort of that, the routine of that, just like you would witness many births at home.
Yeah.
And now we're fearful of all those processes because it's been extracted out of the home. But I think there's a really a neat tide that's turning on that, and I think it's exciting.
What's the first death you remember?
I remember my parents, when I was like maybe 6 or 7, my parents talking about how I couldn't go to this funeral because there was going to be an open casket and, maybe I shouldn't go. And I remember just thinking, but my first major memory of going to a funeral was my grandmother's. Now, I didn't get to see her die, but I remember it being really a neat celebration and a lot of funny things happening and a lot of joy. And I remember thinking, that's so surprising. Like, I thought this was going to be sad and miserable, and of course, that people were grieving, but there was so much joy and so much joy in it. And I found the same thing in tragedy too. Often so much deep connection and joy happens in those environments, where everybody's just shown up to bear witness to what's going on.
It's a different kind of opening, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's pretty profound. It's I think that level of intimacy that happens in those moments, that drew me to this work and has kept me here, because it's different than I find most other places, and it's enriching and enlivening and heartbreaking, and it's all of it. And I love it. I just love it. Yeah.
As I think Martin Prechtel, he's this Guatemalan shaman, talks about, like, life is grief and praise. And I think in those moments when somebody is dying or has died, it's like there's so much grief and then there's so much praise, like all the gratitude for all the gifts that person has brought.
Yeah. We have a person I'm working with right now, and our a phrase we use often is both and. So there's just weeping and I can't believe I'm leaving and I'm going to miss my life, and I'm going to get to see my parents, and I'm not going to hurt anymore, and this cancer is going to be gone, and I wonder what God's going to look like. I'm really excited about that. And then this back and forth experience. It's both and we talk about, embracing all of that. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, Martha, can you share, I've been asking everybody during this series if they've had a particular beastie or wild animal that's been in there. Maybe it's a long-term relationship, or there's one that's recently stepped into your life, and what that means, or, how it's inspired you.
Okay, I have two. Can I share two?
I know you have some artwork that you just received.
I do. I just got some artwork. So I had a meditation experience about 4 years ago where a bear came into my experience, big lumbering bear, and she has been around, and it's a she. She has been around off and on, and about 2 months ago, I got a bear claw necklace, and I'll tell you, when I wear that, there is a whole other thing that happens, and I don't really understand it. I like it. It's kind of that, not kind of, it's stepping into a different kind of power and a different archetype, and my capacity is expanded to do things and be present in a different way, and I love it. And then Michael Trotta made this raven queen. Is she not the coolest?
Wow.
I know. I love this. Like the wind is blowing in my office.
Love it.
And this is just reminding me about who I am inside. And when things get rough and I get weary, I'm still that. I'm still strong, and even when I don't feel like it. And that's a good reminder.
Love it. Whenever I see ravens or I hear them making their little special calling, it's like I just always am reminded, like, what it bubbles up for me is that I don't necessarily, the things are conspiring on my behalf to help out. There's magic happening all the time. I'm be aware of that, and just remember that I don't have to strive so hard, or that I'm not in this alone,
Yeah, truly.
Martha, how can people find you? And I mean, I know you do training for people who want to get better at facilitating and helping people to die in a conscious way.
Yeah. So I'm the executive director at this beautiful place called Abode Contemplative Care for the Dying in San Antonio. And it's like this beautiful learning lab where these people who come and live with us and we care for teach us at the same time. So we've begun to have students come in and work with us. We're going to start a death doula training in the fall. Death doulas are this new, they're not new, but it's in an emerging employment. I think 2017, they were talking about one of the most intriguing employment opportunities rising up was being a death doula. It's because we're going to have so many people who are dying in the next 15 years, and our country is not equipped to take care for those people. This is going to be a really important part of how we do that. And our communities are going to care for each other, and having people in our communities that know how to do that feels really important. So we're doing some of that work at Abode, and I'm doing some of that work personally. And so Abode's website is abodehome.org, and my website is marthaatkins.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been doing a little bit of reading on that around just in Minnesota, and been really, there's some people in Minneapolis actively doing it as well. So I'm excited because I think, yeah, it's time. We need to take these things back into our own hands.
We do. I agree. And I want the people around me to know. I mean, it's not like we have some big secret knowledge. It's just that we haven't been around it. And I want people to know so they can help their friends and families. And my gosh, we're gonna be there someday. Babies being born today are the ones who are going to care for us, which is kind of astounding. So there's teaching that needs to happen, and I'm glad to be a part of that.
Yeah. Me too. Well, I'm excited to continue this journey, and thank you so much, Martha, for being here. And
my pleasure. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
You are a shiny, shiny light. It's fun to watch what you're doing and where you're going, and fist bump.
Okay.